So how much of a private sector participation do you see filtering into the 2018 budget? For instance, looking at the power sector, the Ministry of Power Housing sector, they have an allocation of about 555 billion naira for that ministry. How can that be sufficient, for instance, to address the power concerns of this country in this budget of consolidation?
You see, Mr. Gimba, I think it will be too early for me to comment on the document that was just laid yesterday. And I think various committee of the House, Committee on Power, is going to look at scrutinize the budget and advise the House as to the reasonability or otherwise of such allocations. So it will be immature for me to now comment on the document that was just laid yesterday, and we need to have a lot of information for us to conclude on that aspect and why the government is making such allocation, because we need to engage them, to listen to them, what are the justification of all those allocations. So it will be too early for me to comment on the aspect of the budget.
Could you talk to us about the relationship between the executive and the legislature at this point? Because you do remember the president of the Senate did say that there must be a cordial relationship for this budget to come through. How much of a relationship would you term as cordial between the executive and the legislators?
You see, it all depends on because so far so good. You can see during the presentation of the budget by Mr. President, the kind of support such presentation received. And we are hoping in the course of our engaging the MDAs, they will give us all the necessary cooperations. They will provide all the information we required from them to enable us to make an informed decision, because it is very important for the executive arm of government to cooperate with the legislators when it comes to the issue of budget defense. Because some of the major challenges, you find that you write a letter to an agency requesting for some documents or some information. At the end of the day, you find that it's either they present it not in full, or in some cases, they will not even present it at all. So we're also appealing to the executive arm of government to cooperate with the National Assembly in terms of budget defense and in terms of interaction between the National Assembly and the executives to enable us to make sure that we pass the budget latest by December, ending or first week of January.
Now, let's look at the parameters that have been set by the government in this 2018 budget. You have a oil production of about 2.5 million barrels per day. And 2.3, I beg your pardon, 2.3 million barrels per day, and also a benchmark of $45 to the for a barrel of crude. Are you optimistic about the deliverables in this budget?
Well, we are very optimistic because some of the major challenges we face in the past has to do with the issue of security in the Niger Delta, and everybody can see that in recent time there's a level of fish in the Niger Delta, and which means the production level will be met, because last year it was 2.2 and they increased it to 2.3, which we still have a window, but they're only restricting it to be on the safe hand. If you look at the crude price of 45 per barrel, that one is also, we are going to look at it. Like I said, as parliamentarians, we are going to engage them to justify whether it's adequate or otherwise. If we discover that the price is too high, we reduce it. We discover it is too low, we increase it. So that's why I say we are dispatching letters latest by Friday. We are going to engage them by next week. So at the end of the day, we'll have a clear picture of the position of the proposal on both on MTEP, because we have to consider the MTEP first, approve the parameters before we start consideration of the budget.
Because a lot of people are really concerned about the capacity of the country to, through this budget of consolidation, get totally away from recession, which we're just managing just at the brink of it, even at this time. But we're expected to spend out of recession and further spend more to get further away from recession. Do you have concerns that if we go the way of borrowing, perhaps this is too risky a deal for the Nigerian people?
Well, you see, in every medium-term expenditure framework, there is always a provision for borrowing plan. And that borrowing plan, we are going to look at it. We are going to engage the Debt and Management Office. They are going to give us all the information we require to determine the level of borrowing that can be contained in the MTEF. And you see, there is no way we can sustain and fund the budget 100% without borrowing, because all our budgets are deficit budgets. And there's a restriction on the borrowing, because you can, according to Fiscal Responsibility Act, you cannot borrow exceeding the capital allocation of that budget.
Okay,
so
just hold your thoughts. Hold your thoughts for a minute or two. We're going to have to take a very quick break, and when we return, we'll continue along that line, and I'll allow you to finish your thoughts there. You're watching State of the Nation. We'll be back after these messages. Join us again.